And that much makes sense. This early amount of pressure out of Delirium, generally enough to keep the control deck off balance. Certainly before the combo, this was a matchup in Delirium's favor. And players shaking hands, and we will begin for Brennan starting on Traverse the Ulfenwald. Still does play 3 of that card. It's not that much of a Delirium deck, though. There's nothing like Grapple to the Past with the Past in here.
So DeCandio's plan is going to be to come out of the gates very quickly. He wants to have turn 2 Winding Constrictor. That's best case scenario, and just kind of curve out from there all the way up to Verdurous Gearhulk.
His 2-drop is Grim Flayer. Was dodged a shock. It was Spirebluff Canal from Nathaniel Black.
Yeah, Nathaniel actually has 3 main deck copies of Shock. We'll see if he has Harnessed Lightning.
Yeah, Port Town showing a basic for Black. And does he have the kills? Well, he does. It's Harnessed Lightning. So he'll get 1 energy to spare, spends 2 of it to kill the Grim Flayer. We go back to DeCandio. Draws Fatal Push. You see he's got both Tireless Tracker and Green Gearhulk in his hand. He'll just play the Tracker out. So Nathaniel has a window to kill it before it makes any, before it does any investigating.
He's already checked Nathaniel for Shock. So
Shock's not there, yeah.
knows that's not there. It would need to be another Harness Lightning, and casting it this turn gets under Disallow.
Oh, wow. How good is this? It actually just resolves, and Nathaniel passes back. Brennan then draws Evolving Wilds for the turn. So it's not just 1 chance to investigate, it's going to be 2.
Yeah, and DeCandio, the way he navigated this, he played around Disallow, which Nathaniel now potentially has access to. So this is great for Brennan.
Yeah, he did not have a 4th land in hand either. He had to draw it, and what a land to draw here. So he's got Ruinous Path, Fatal Push, Mindrack Demon, and Verdurous Gearhulk as there's remaining cards. He'll attack with Tracker. He'll crack a Clue, making it into a 4/3 and draw a card. You know, we haven't seen that much Tireless Tracker in Standard, or at least we didn't when like it was Blue-White and Emrakul's, but this card's great.
It was frequently in the 75 of the controlling Delirium decks.
Yeah.
Typically a sideboard card there, but the card is just excellent.
Exactly. I think that's what I mean. You know, it was a sideboard card. It wasn't the focal point like it was in the previous standards.
Yeah, a lot of the games are just about Emrakul and Gideon, and Tireless Trackers not terribly relevant when the game is about either of those things.
So Nathaniel takes 4. He goes for an Anticipate on end step. Brennan will crack a Clue before Nathaniel finds anything like a Shock. So he gets to investigate again. Go back to Nathaniel Black. Needle Spires. It's actually can be pretty difficult for Nathaniel to get Tireless Tracker off the table once it starts getting very large. He's got, you know, his removals are Harness Lightnings and Shocks. And Oath of Chandra. They don't do that very well. Let's see. Brennan gets another land, Hissing Quagmire. So gets to let the investigations continue. He'll play it, get another Clue. Swing for 4. And 4 more damage comes in. Nathaniel down to 12. This
Ahead
is just
on
great.
the board. It's got a reasonable clock, drawing a bunch of cards. This is a very good spot for Brennan.
He's going to try to up the clock with Mindrack Demon. There is Disallow mana up for Nathaniel.
I would kill that one. I would counter that.
If you can, yeah. Revolutionary Rebuff from Nathaniel Black. Okay. 2 of in the main. Plays land 5. So keeps the demon off the board. Can he deal with the Tracker? Harnessed Lightning on Tireless Tracker. Yes, he can. Has to spend just those 3 energy. So now the board is clean, and Nathaniel has Disallow up.
And the way that DeCandio navigated, as you see, he has 2 clues. He could have played around Harness Lightning, but just not casting Mindrack Demon.
Yeah.
He can conclude that Nathaniel had a top deck Harness Lightning.
Yeah, it didn't happen the previous turn.
Right. He did leave himself a little bit vulnerable, though.
Plays Walking Ballista just on a 1. And he says go. He had a 6th land here, but just, oh, he's going to see if it gets countered. It gets disallowed. Okay. Now he plays land 6. No play. You see, he could have hit with a Quagmire, but now Brennan is respecting the combo. Doesn't do that.
Yep.
Says go. What he can do is on end step is crack some clues.
Yeah.
Draw 1. Will he draw 2?
Yeah, cracking the clues just seems more relevant than the 2 damage here.
Yeah, draws a Winding Constrictor off the first card. Yeah, I'll crack another clue. Let's do that. And then untap. Not a bad turn for DeCandio. He's now up to a 6-card hand. Tireless Tracker, and eventually investigated 3 times, and Brennan has converted on all 3 clues. Kind of speaking to that black-green where it actually feels like it has stronger card advantage than the Jeskai deck at times.
Yeah, getting that Tireless Tracker out early, that was great for DeCandio.
And now I think it's interesting to see what he tries to leave up. He has Green Gearhulk, Fatal Push, Winding Constrictor, a Forest, Ruinous Path. It might be Grasp. That without Grasp, he doesn't have a way to trigger Revolt. He's kind of cold to the combo as it stands.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him to revolt with that Fatal Push, especially with that Walking Ballista being countered.
Yeah.
That card's going to be difficult for him to convert it for any value at all in this match.
A Winding Constrictor and then just pass. And look at the pressure that this Jeskai combo does. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Brennan had to worry about a combo, you know, he could have played Green Gearhulk with these 5 lands.
Yep.
So Glimmer, end step by Nathaniel, and then he draws. Gets an Aether Hub. And just passes. 7 lands now, 4 cards in hand for Nathaniel Black.
Got some Torrential Gearhulk mana hanging out.
Yeah, right, that's the scary part. Now, Nathaniel creates so much pressure without doing anything, right? Brennan's not playing creatures because of the combo. Like, he might not even attack, because if he attacks Gearhulk, like, flashes Black or Glimmer, blocks Constrictor. Like, this is bad.
Yeah.
But here's something that's good. Rishkar, the play for Brennan. Does it resolve? We will see. Glimmer of Genius in response to Rishkar.
It's a little sigh of relief for Brennan here that Nathaniel did not Torrential Gearhulk and disallow.
Yeah.
Of course, he's drawing a lot of cards.
Does it resolve? Scry's top bottom. And now here's the disallow. No to the Rishkar. Swing for 2, Nathaniel's at 10. But once again, like, Brennan can't follow up, right? Because he might die if he does. So 2 damage. He has Nathaniel at 10. Another disallow drawn by Black.
And for DeCandio, he has Ruinous Path in his hand. A little unfortunate that it's not to the slaughter.
Yeah, Ruinous Path's not going to do much. He does have a Grasp. You see Oath of Jace from Nathaniel. But if Brennan waits too long, eventually Nathaniel will have enough mana to just go for the combo with Negate backup, right?
Right.
You
And
can't.
He's getting a lot of looks, too.
Yeah. Oath of Jace, draw 3, discard 2. Discards 2 lands. That's pretty great. Plays Wandering Fumarole. You know, we saw this out of the decks before, especially Tyler Hill's top 8 deck. Oath of Jace, a great target for Felidar Guardian in these decks.
If I was DeCandio, I think I would be jamming that Verdurous Gearhulk on this turn.
Yeah, he has enough mana to play Gearhulk and leave up Grasp. So he'll try for Gearhulk, but Nathaniel's not going to allow that either.
That's a bummer.
So Nathaniel has disallowed Brennan's last 3 threats as he goes down to 8. Was Walking Ballista, then it was Rishkar, now it was Gearhulk. Brennan's not landing anything. But he's got 2 damage, right? Down to 8. It's 4 turns. And Felidar Guardian from Nathaniel, maybe. That could flicker the Jace, the Oath of Jace. So many options.
It's a combo.
Well, just Nathaniel has so much more mana to work with, right? Because of this fact that, you know, the fact that he registered Jeskai cards means that Brennan kind of has been double Stone Rained this whole game.
Yep.
So Felidar Guardian enters the battlefield, flickers Oath of Jace. Nathaniel will draw 3, discard 2 again.
It's more so that the interactive part of his deck is quite good against DeCandio's strategy. He's just casting a bunch of creatures that don't generate value. They're quite powerful. They're good rates, but the Tireless Tracker was the only one that had significant consequence.
Nathaniel discarding an Anticipate with a land. If he's discarding Anticipates, I'm really worried from Brennan's side.
I think I see a Masterpiece Gearhulk in Nathaniel's hand.
But that's great. I mean, if they're discarding Anticipate, right? Nathaniel's been untapping with, like, that card's just amazing here. It means there's nothing really he's looking for anymore.
Yeah. Got got 3 cards.
Yeah.
I'm happy with all of them.
Yeah. Another Winding Constrictor drawn from DeCandio.
Give me the best card of the top 3 of my deck. This one's probably better.
Brennan did use Grasp to take down the Guardian as he now hits Nathaniel down to 6. Brennan then plays Mindrak Demon. In response, there will be a Glimmer. Leaving up 3, it's Fatal Push, Ruinous Path, Noose Constrictor, Winding Constrictor. There's actually, Brennan is cold.
Yeah.
Right? Fatal Push doesn't answer the combo.
Nathaniel also has a negate in his hand.
Yeah, okay, so, and maybe Brennan knows that at this point, where it's like, yeah, he probably will negate it. Might as well.
Casting the demon gives him lethal attackers on the following turn.
Exactly. 9 energy, though, for Nathaniel, so a Harnessed Lightning is certainly a kill spell. He's got a Blue Gear Hulk, so he could, I think he'd like to Blue Gear Hulk into Glimmer, but he could do it into Harnessed Lightning, kill the demon. Things are fine.
Plenty of energy in the reserve.
Yeah. Absolutely. 3 mana from Nathaniel. Is he going to play Saheeli Rai? He will. That's kind of a win for Brennan now that Ruinous Path in his hand has a target.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. I'm kind of into a play here far more aggressive than what Nathaniel plays. Like, if you want to play Saheeli, we could just play Blue Gear Hulk, Harness Lightning the guy, copy Blue Gear Hulk, cast Glimmer, 5 him, say go.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're doing this tempo deck, but why not just clock him in the face? Like, that's so many cards. I don't know if Brennan comes back from that.
Leaving up Gear Hulk is pretty powerful because he has access to Glimmer of Genius if Brennan does nothing, or Disallow. Of course, he's not going to be able to leverage the Disallow, given that DeCandio can just make a lethal attack before he has to cast any spells.
If Brennan's play here is Awakened, is land, and then Awakened Ruinous Path, this is actually a tight spot for Nathaniel.
Yeah, he doesn't have the mana to cast Negate and Gear Hulk, so he has to Gear Hulk Disallow that.
Right, and then he goes to 2.
Yeah.
Or loses his Saheeli, neither of which I'm not into. A swing with both. If Brennan doesn't do that pre-combat, though, Gear Hulk, I mean, Brennan's got to assume there's a Gear Hulk here, right?
Well, if Brennan attacks with both, he forces the Gear Hulk to be cast then and there.
Right.
Of course, it's going to eat up his entire team.
And I like this. So what he does, he just swings the demon, and that still forces the Gear Hulk, but Brennan gets to keep his snake, which is really nice. So flashback, casts the Harness Lightning for free, Mindrak Demon down, 5/6 in play. And now Brennan can just awaken that Ruinous Path if he wants.
Yeah. 5/6 is really good here, though. He's got to find a way through that.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't necessarily specify what we have to awaken the Ruinous Path on.
Yeah. Leaving yourself dead to Fellow Dark Guardian does not seem great.
It.
But even just Guardian on Gear Hulk is really powerful.
Awaken Ruinous Path on Torrential Gear Hulk and says go.
It was on the Saheeli.
Oh, it's on Saheeli.
So now Nathaniel untapping with Torrential Gear Hulk. It's looking like the players are checking in the number of +1/+1 counters on the land here.
Yeah, they're reading how Awaken interacts with Winding Constrictor.
Yeah. So I think it only hits creatures and artifacts, and it was not a creature.
It's not, so this is
yet.
interesting. It's not a, it's creatures, artifacts, and players.
Yeah.
So a land is none of those things. So the land is only a 4/4 because when it was targeted, it wasn't. Like, and then you have to read. Wait, I'm not entirely sure. We'll see what the judge rules here because I don't. It depends like exactly on the wording on Awaken. Like, the judge rules it as a 4/4.
Yeah. This is not my department.
This is where I call a judge. Like, unfortunately, we have one right here. So he says it's a 4/4, not a 5/5.
All right.
And I'll allow it.
And even if it was a 5/5, does not make a significant
5/6,
difference with the numbers happening. There's a 5/6 Torrential Gear Hulk, and Nathaniel is on 6.
Nathaniel getting in some attacks here. Gear Hulk's going to deal 5 to put Brennan to 14. Are we looking at a Fumigate or?
Smells like a Fumigate.
It's just another Harness Lightning. Harness Lightning on the Forest.
He does have Fumarole as a blocker for the Constrictor.
Yeah, I guess so. And he looks like his hand, he's got a Negate.
Yeah, he's able to activate the Fumarole and leave up Negate mana.
I think it's Negate Shock. I do want to back up here. If Nathaniel's hand is negate shock, like, I really don't like how that last turn was played. Between Saheeli and Blue Gearhulk, there was the opportunity to get a lot. Like, Nathaniel's low on cards here, and I don't think he really had to be based on what he had.
Yeah. I definitely, anytime you have the opportunity to Gearhulk Glimmer of Genius, I try to skew my play towards making that happen.
Right, like I said, instead of leaving up mana, the play before of Gearhulk. Anyway, he could have had double Gearhulks. Maybe he had everything.
Yeah.
So we see an attack here. It's going to be a activation of Fumarole by Nathaniel. Then Brennan fatal pushes. Nathaniel negates the fatal push. Brennan still has a grasp. He's going to grasp away the Fumarole. And now, is it lethal? No. Shock on the creature land, but 2 damage off the snake puts Nathaniel to 4. Nathaniel also now out of cards. Brennan only has 1.
And that was Brennan's only Quagmire.
And there is a Needle Spires on Nathaniel's side. You got to watch out the race here. 4 off the Spires, 5 off the Gearhulk. Nathaniel actually wins the race as it stands. 9, then 2, then 9. Game over.
A Verdurous Gearhulk or a Rishkar would be lethal for Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, it's or a Ruinous Path, or a Traverse, or a
He's got
a Walking Ballista.
Got a lot of good draws.
But here's an activation. 9 damage. Brennan goes to 5. Can he hit one of those draws?
Is that a Rishkar?
It is. Oh, yeah, it's a Rishkar. Counters on both. That looks like a 4/5. Nathaniel, oh no, does he have... Actually, he's trying to put counters on things, but hold on. Here's the last Harness Lightning in response.
That'll do it.
And Brennan's last card's another snake. Yeah, he could have... I guess he would have had a 4/4 instead of a 3/3. That's not that different.
Yeah. Well, the attack side of lethal this turn or it's not, and he's not going to make it big enough to engage in combat favorably with the Torrential Gearhulk. You're right that the sequencing is not optimizing.
It doesn't change anything, though. Brennan's still playing fine. Now Brennan down to 5. He's going to have to block that Gearhulk. Oath of Chandra, the draw from Nathaniel. That's huge. Snake down. Here comes Needle Spires. Gearhulk has to be blocked. So down to 1. Brennan will go. He blocks the 5/6. Bins the legend. He's at 1. I don't think he has a 4-point burn spell, and he does not. Nathaniel Black takes the first game.
Would have needed that second copy of Ruinous Path. His outs were much slimmer on that draw step.
Yeah, it was just Ruinous Path?
Yeah.
Interesting. If his out's just Ruinous Path, is it right for Nathaniel to just leave back the Needle Spires then?
Yeah, I think so.
That's weird, right?
The Gearhulk kills him or it doesn't. Like, making a 2-turn clock with the Spires when your opponent is chump blocking doesn't really matter. I think when you have the Abyss active, I would just leave the land up.
Yeah, so then if he Ruinous Paths and Awakens, then you activate Spires, trade Spires with the 4/4, and, like, life goes on.
Yeah.
I think I agree. I mean, by not doing that, that means that Brennan can, like, draw creatures. And
yeah.
It's hard to say,
It's a very slim thing.
All right, but game 1 goes to Nathaniel Black, Brennan has had very few losses with this Delirium deck. But let's look at the sideboard. So this is a matchup that Brennan was confident in last weekend. 2 Lost Legacy, 2 Natural State, 2 To the Slaughter, 2 Yeheni's Expertise, and then 1 ofs Fatal Push, Ishkana, Kalidas, Nissa, Noxious Gearhulk, Obnixilus, and a 3rd Tireless Tracker.
So he's definitely expecting the game to go long. It's a combo deck, but it's also a control deck. So you want this Tireless Tracker for sure. I assume that we're going for the Planeswalkers, both Nissa and Obnixilus, just as a way to play the game if it's fair and it's going long. That all seems great. To the Slaughter is a great piece of interaction for the combo, or it just gets Torrential Gearhulk off the table. That card's great. Presumably, Brennan's going to bring in Lost Legacy. There's some interesting things with what to name, because Black won't necessarily have the combo or all of the combo in post sideboard. So the Lost Legacy can be a little bit dicey, and unfortunately you can't just name Torrential Gearhulk.
But I assume if it's in his sideboard, it's coming in here, right? Like, this is the matchup he put it in his deck for.
Right, yeah. It is curious what gets named, though.
Yeah, I mean, if he could have gotten the Felidar Guardians out of Nathaniel's deck, he could have played that last game way more aggressively.
True.
So there's an advantage there. On Nathaniel's black side, he's got a playset of Spell Quellers, and then some 2-ofs. Dispel, Fumigate. That is Fumigate's numbers 2 and 3. So he boards from 1 up to 3. 2 Negates, 2 Radiant Flames, a Decommission, a Quarantine Field, and a Shock.
All the sweepers seem quite strong. Fumigate, Radiant Flames. These are all quite good. You have to be able to deal with Winding Constrictor. So Radiant Flame seems great. Shock is at a weird rate for this matchup. There's a lot of 3 toughness things happening.
You hope it hits a Grim Flayer on turns before he has Delirium, and then it gets bad.
Yeah, I think I want some number of Shock in my deck, but the full 4 seems a little much.
The window for that card being good is so small.
Right.
I guess it kills creature lands, right? It kills the Quagmire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I probably want to board one of my Shocks out instead of bringing an extra one in. That's pretty much what we have going on. And the Quarantine Field is a clean answer to any large creature.
Okay, so we are actually underway for game 2 here. Brennan DeCandio is on the play. He has a turn 2 Grim Flayer on the play. And Nathaniel actually with no response at all. No Shock on turn 1, no like end step Shock, no turn 2 Harness Lightning. It's looking like Brennan might get a hit in.
That'd be great.
So he traverses before attacking. We've seen that one. Hits with Grim Flayer. Nathaniel to 18. Brennan, top 3, can rearrange. Tireless Tracker, Swamp. Looks like To the Slaughter. He's got Sorcery, Land in Graveyard. He could make his creature a 4/4 immediately. That's what he'll do. Grim Flayer now out of range of some of that removal. And he'll play another. He'll play another. This is making Nathaniel's turn to anticipate look really bad.
Yes.
Like, Brennan's playing 4/4 for 2. Nathaniel is playing a cantrip.
Right. And now if he brought in Radiant Flames, that just
not even
doesn't
good.
do anything.
Plays Inspiring Vantage. Brennan might just run him out of the building on this one. Land 4, swing for 8, Nathaniel to 10. Gross.
Odds are Brennan's next draw step is going to be a good card. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. The best of the top 6. You know, I don't like 4/4s in my decks, but when they come attached to like card deck manipulation, I can get behind that. You know, if I have to play a creature, I'd like it to do this.
Yes. And he kept all 3 cards.
He kept all 3. So he goes for a snake. Nathaniel spell quells it, but then Brennan plays the Walking Ballista. Spell Queller, that 2/3, it's not looking great at the moment. Nathaniel, 4th land, passes.
I'm a bit surprised to see Queller come in this matchup. It doesn't size up especially well against what Brennan is up to in terms of combat. And it's likely that Brennan is leaving in some number of removal spells.
So a swing for 8 from Brennan, a Glimmer of Genius from Nathaniel. There's a green Gear Oak in Brennan's hand. I think he's going to kill him this turn. In fact, I'm sure of it, because he's taking at least 5. Brennan can put all the 1/1 counters on the Ballista and shoot Nathaniel for the last 5. Like, he's dead. Turn 5 going to kill you.
Pretty good.
Yep. Game. Brennan, boom, evens it up. All right.
Nathaniel's going to have to do better than that.
So how about that Anticipate card? Oh, okay. Okay. That was some messed up stuff. Well, I feel like we were looking at these just like a moment ago. You know, Spell Queller and Radiant Flames, we're talking about how those are out of the board for Nathaniel. Those would not help him there.
Going into game 3, the Radiant Flames on the play, that's generally going to be pretty good. I'm really surprised that Spell Queller came in here. I don't think it matches up really on any level.
The problem is that as a creature, as a 2/3 creature, it's like not relevant. So it's like bad disallow, right? It's disallow that gives them their stuff back.
The best thing it's doing is bouncing off a Winding Constrictor.
Our players are going to get ready for game number 3. Over at Star City Games, we have our Versus videos, both in standard playtesting and, of course, our Commander edition. So for Magic the Gathering, we had the Commander 2016 edition. We have both those decks and sets of 5 now available for order on the Star City Games website. You can also get our new Commander Versus Series playmats. So that whole collection is now available for order over at starcitygames.com/Commander 2016.
Like those playmats. They're nice and clean. Get your hands on those.
So 7's here. Nathaniel back on the play. Maybe it always feels so bad when you work so hard for game 1 and then you drop game 2 in like 2 minutes. You're just like, man, okay, guess we gave that back. So no mulligans. We're 7's here for the 3rd and final game. Nathaniel no plays on the first 2 turns, but Brennan a little more calm of a start here.
Yeah. The fact that both of his lands are Hissing Quagmire is relevant.
Yeah, that could show up in the later game for sure. And the Marsh. He'll go Lost Legacy on turn 3. Spell Queller from Nathaniel. He would like to keep his combo in the deck, at least for now. Now, I would think the Legacy will resolve at some point here. You know, odds are that Brennan can kill this.
Yes.
Aether Hub for Nathaniel Black, and attack for 2 puts Brennan to 18. Leaves up 4, so counter spells are there.
It's really interesting that an instant speed removal spell allows Brennan to have a little bit of control over Nathaniel's draw step. If you kill the Spell Queller after he draws this card, you can potentially name the card that he drew. Unfortunately, with Lost Legacy, it does replace itself.
So Brennan passes the turn. If Nathaniel went for end step Glimmer, Brennan was going to go ahead and to the slaughter. Instead, he to the slaughters on Nathaniel's upkeep. And this is neat. What happens is that Nathaniel quells that and attacks for 2.
And the thing about having 2 Spell Quellers, one of them with a removal spell under it, one removal spell just breaks that all up.
Unless it's another to the slaughter, which in this case it is.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, he'll get the wrong one. But right, like a Grasp of Darkness here counts double.
Yeah.
Gotta find it.
Looks like he has a green Gearhulk. Could just cast that.
Yeah, Tireless Tracker as well. Actually, Nissa Vital Force in Brennan's hand. That's something that came out of the sideboard here.
It's going to be really tough for Nathaniel to deal with Verdurous Gearhulk here. You know, you can't counter that with Revolutionary Rebuff because it's an artifact.
Yeah, there's no like.
Doesn't have. He only has 1 energy in his pool. I guess he can Harness Lightning it if he has it right now with the trigger on the stack.
That would actually be fine.
Yes.
And he does play 4, so that's the answer. You know, there's no like disdainful stroke style card. Brennan looking at a lot of things. He can play Mindrack Demon. He can play Green Gearhulk. He can play Tracker plus land. He goes for Gearhulk. Going to make the most mana efficient play. But Nathaniel, no Harness Lightning. It's Anticipate.
Tap that mana. It looked like Harness Lightning, and this is really good for DeCandio.
Yeah, he's going to get an 8/8.
Pretty much outs for black here involve casting another spell that generates energy and then having Harness Lightning, or fumigating away both of his creatures.
Yeah, he does not have any copies of Nahiri in his 75, so he can't just have a take 8 and clean answer. He does play a 6th land, attacks. Brennan took the shields down for a combo, but Nathaniel doesn't have it. Another Anticipate, that's what he does have. Finds Disallow, Shock, and something else, and he's going to take the something else, so we'll find out about it when you do. Looks like a 3rd Spell Queller. All right, I can see that line working out.
Yeah, that's good in multiples.
Uh-oh, Grasp of Darkness from Brennan. We talked about how one of these could really be problematic. It's a swing for 8 to put Nathaniel down to 12.
All right, so you said Brennan, he has To the Slaughter. I like the idea of leading with the To the Slaughter, see if Nathaniel bites, and then just wreck him with Grasp.
So if he plays To the Slaughter and Nathaniel spell quells, then the Grasp is so bad. It kills everything.
Yeah.
So we'll untap. Nathaniel, no plays from Brennan. Bit of a chess match with these instants. Upkeep. Is Brennan going to make a play? You and two think alike. It's going to lead on To the Slaughter.
He's a smart dude.
Spell Queller. All right. Yeah, Brennan's like, that's fine. Do I get to just demolish you now? Well, let's find out. Let's find out. Grasp of Darkness. Is there a counter? No. It's not. So To the Slaughter, he plays it. Yeah, Nathaniel gets to keep 1 Queller. So Brennan very smartly here, he grasped the non-summoning 6 Spell Queller.
Yep.
That's pretty solid. So Lost Legacy's the cast. We'll see who Brennan picks and what he picks. This is actually interesting. Early on, I think he would have tried to get the combo. But now, he's looking at the graveyard. There's a lot of options here for Brennan. And name a non-artifact, non-land card. Search a target player for that card.
Oh, wow. Is that Torrential Gearhulk in the middle of Nathaniel's hand? He just didn't draw a Disallow, so he had to play Spell Queller over that. That's really unfortunate.
That was the card he took, yeah. And Saheeli Rai was the name. Looked like Nathaniel has kept in 3 of the copies of the Planeswalker. None of them were in his hand, so they'll just be exiled. No card draw for Nathaniel. And no real way to answer the Gear Hulk either. You know, that 8/8 is quite large.
No, he has 2 red removal spells that still leave him 3 points short of beating up the Gear Hulk.
Just draws a card, says go. Then you can't attack with that one because he played it during the upkeep.
Yep.
Nathaniel drew something blue. I think ideally it would be a disallow. But now, Brennan, Nissa,
Ooh.
Vital Force. You didn't have a counter spell then. Let's see if you drew it. No.
I will attack you for 100.
How about for 12, 13? How about lethal? Geez. This came out of nowhere.
This Nissa does not give the land trample, but Verdurous Gear Hulk does have trample.
And with the Saheeli's out of Nathaniel's deck, Brennan can freely make this play because there's no danger of being killed.
Yep.
Plays a land, says go. Nathaniel drops to 4. Draws a card, but this Felidar Guardian wishes it had a Planeswalker, but it's not gonna.
Next turn, he gets to Nissa up a land, activate a Hissing Quagmire, make a huge attack. I don't see Nathaniel getting out of this one.
Yeah, and he doesn't either. A handshake, and Brennan DeCandio. So far, so good for win number 3.
And I can't help but feel that Nathaniel's sideboarding was very flawed for this matchup. I just think that Spell Queller is just not good